Welcome back. Great to have you with us on The Full View. Electricity Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa says South Africa will survive this winter thanks to a huge improvement in power generation. He said yesterday that power generation at Eskom had been ramped up to 60% from 48% weeks ago. To discuss, we're joined by energy expert at Hohm Energy, Matthew Cruz. Matthew, thank you for being with us as always. There's still some load shedding going on, let's not forget that, but I guess by surviving, he means it is panning out to be much better than expected, and we will see the lights continue to be on most of the time.
Yes, and most of the time is a good commentary on that, because what we've seen is, from my view, not so much an increasing of the generation from Eskom's side. We've actually seen more of a decreasing in the demand over winter compared to previous years. So to explain, we usually have a peak demand in winter of about 34,000 megawatts to 32,000 megawatts. So you have an increase in winter time. This winter, however, our demand is sitting at about 28,000, 29,000 megawatts. So we've got 4,000 to 5,000 megawatts less this winter than we did last winter. And if that had to be on the grid as demand right now, then we'd actually be looking at stage 7 this evening, because we're going into stage 3 this evening.
Wow.
So while the celebration...
that's all people turning to solar or making alternative plans?
So there's an aspect to alternative plans, yes. So it recently came about from Eskom transmission that there's about 4,000 megawatts that's been installed on rooftops, and those installations typically are paired with batteries. So it means that the energy stored during the day from solar is used at night by the people that have the solar, and so that reduces the overall peak demand. So there's 4,000 megawatts there, that's 4 stages of load shedding. But then there's also big industry that decided to close down over winter time this time, because there was these projections of stage 8 load shedding that was coming along, and that was going to be a tough winter. So we saw also a lot of reduced demand coming from industry, from them choosing not to open up their factories during this time in winter.
All right, but then they've still been affected simply by the predictions. However, so that's the demand side, but when it comes to the power stations, I mean, we're seeing the energy availability factor that's improved, and I'd really love to know what you think that is about. Of course, we have new management. I've asked this before, is Eskom cutting corners when it comes to maintenance? Is it adding too much diesel, or is something really good going on here? Better management, less sabotage? What do you think is happening?
So I'd say that we are having a step in the right direction, but I primarily wouldn't say that it's because of a whole bunch of things that we're doing right that has ended up with us having an energy availability factor of 60% at the moment. And why I say that is there was a whole bunch of power station units that were in maintenance in the summer times and coming into autumn that were being worked on in order to bring them back just before winter. And that was the plan, is like, before winter comes, let's have these units online. And as typical with Eskom, it took about a month, 2 months delay for these units to come back. And now they happen to be coming back in the middle of June, end of June, like beginning of July. And so now all these power stations coming back from maintenance, these units, have resulted in us being able to meet the demand of 28,000 megawatts. Whereas before we were sitting at about only generating 22,000 megawatts, 24,000 megawatts. So I'd say it's more that we had a whole bunch of units on generation outage for maintenance, and they came back. I would like to say, though, that there is decent progress being made in terms of the maintenance regimes, as there's more money available now for Eskom to be able to do maintenance correctly. So there is an aspect to that, but I wouldn't say that that took us the whole 12% from 48% EAF to 60%. So I'd say, 7% of that was just units coming back online that had been on maintenance. So it's kind of like look at this as a localized reduction in load shedding for now, but we will see in August, I believe, stage 6 again, unfortunately.
Is there any evidence of less sabotage, though? I mean, I remember at some points we were having 5 units from different power stations going down simultaneously. And we don't seem to have that sort of impact anymore. We have some security officials, some army officials. Has government addressed that at all?
So I would say that the sabotage that was taking place did seem quite coordinated, as you correctly said, at the same time, 5 units going off. And that sabotage seemed to really ease off, very interestingly, as soon as Andre Director went and left the country. And so there seems to be some kind of interesting correlation, and it's difficult to really say, like, when it comes to something as opaque and difficult to understand as sabotage. it seems to be, from my opinion now, a pulling back of the parties that were doing their sabotage during this time. There seems to be a coordinated message saying, let's hold it back on the sabotage for now. Let's reduce the amount of vision that's on us for a bit and investigations that are going on. And of course, the army being present at the power stations would also help with the additional threat that the army brings with them in terms of anyone they would find doing sabotage. So it seems to be a coordination of reduced sabotage at the moment, but it's very difficult to put your finger on that, and the evidence is even harder to find. That's what seems to be coming about from looking at the things.
I agree, it is confusing, but hopefully something sustainable that in terms of that pullback is going on. Energy expert at Hohm Energy, Matthew Cruz, thank you very much for your time tonight.